Welcome to the Exec Exchange, 15-minute podcast in which a leader from the water sector shares a story to inspire, educate, and inform other water sector leaders. Today, I'm with Jocot De Dios, the Chief Executive for Manila Water in the Philippines. Jocot, wonderful to have you with me.
Hello, Piers. Good to be invited here. Thanks very much.
We like to start by going into a little bit of the background of our podcaster. And you have a really interesting background, having been chief executive of some organizations outside of the water sector. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you learned from those experiences?
Well, this is my third year in Manila Water, the water sector. Prior to that, I was 1 year running a construction company. That's 4 years for the Enrique Razon Group, which is one of the largest conglomerates in the Philippines. Prior to that, I spent about 8 years I was country manager, chief executive officer for General Electric in the Philippines. There were several P&Ls that I shepherded with multiple customers across the sector. I was also a managing director for government affairs for Asia Pacific for GE. It taught me all the things you needed to do and all the things you didn't need to do in a big multinational context. I was asked to join GE from Perth, WA, where I was running a oil and gas company, exploration company, small listed Australian company, Nido Petroleum. I did that for 4 years in Australia, but prior to that, about 3 years in the Philippines. And prior to that, I was in government. I was an undersecretary or deputy minister for energy. So I was preparing the Philippine energy plan. I was supervising the downstream oil sector, and I created the natural gas office for the agency. There was a gap year. I was nominated by the president then to be chairman of the Philippine Actual Corporation Exploration Corp. So, and that was it. Prior to government, I was practicing law, commercial law.
Well, so you're a lawyer by training. You've been in the government. You've held some pretty senior posts in some big multinationals. And I think this feeds into the story we're going to be touching on, which is around how you can take Manila Water into a truly global Philippine water utility. Let's talk about Manila Water now. So Manila Water, how many people does it serve? Where is it based? What sort of services?
We're based in Manila. Our core business is servicing 7.6 million customers in the eastern area or section of Metro Manila, plus the Rizal province on the east. And so this is a very successful public-private partnership, 27 years. And that's pretty much about 80% of our top line. We are outside of Metro Manila, across what we call our non-East Zone Philippines. So we're in areas south of Metro Manila, in Laguna, north of Metro Manila, in Clark, in Pampanga. Further south, where we service Boracay Water. Further even down south, Tagum in Davao. So we do have a very wide footprint in the Philippines, and we do have international investments in Vietnam, Tuduk, Kendong, Saigon Water. We have a small investment in the listed company in Thailand, East Water. We have a small operation in Indonesia, and we do have a couple of management operations, maintenance contracts in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the East and the Northwest cluster. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, a lot of coverage.
A lot of coverage, a lot of geography, and a lot of time zones that you're then spreading yourself across. But we're going to talk a bit more about that and your ambitions to grow even more globally. But before we go there, there's recently been some terrible typhoons. I think there were two very close to each other that hit the Philippines. And I'm sure this added extra stress and strain to the day-to-day operations of what you did in Manila Water. Can you tell me a bit about that experience?
Yeah, the typhoons like what we've experienced in the last couple of months can be a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it wreaks a lot of havoc towards our fellow Filipinos and our operations. On the other, it provides us much needed water in the dams that provide us water, at least for the zone concession. Fortunately for us, the last couple of storms didn't necessarily hit directly Metro Manila, but we did benefit from water being added to the dams. But that meant outside of Metro Manila, we needed to prepare very, very carefully to anticipate the disruptions in our operations. And that we did. We're part of this system, the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, which I'm a director. And we pay attention to weather disturbances, seismic activities, anything that we anticipate that could happen. And so our role here is quite apart from being the water utility that ensures that no matter what happens, no matter the severity of any storm that hits the country, whether in Metro Manila or outside, we're best prepared to deal with contingencies. Whether you're talking about gensets ready or manpower, we have a very, very robust response system. And apart from that, we provide aid. We had to send several tanker trucks to the south of Metro Manila to help a lot of our fellow Filipinos who are in distress. But that's really on the reaction to the storms and support very much needed relief operations. I think where we as a utility can be of significant value is trying to understand the role that we have in ensuring that for oncoming disasters in the next few years, what can we do to harness it in a positive way? So we had a meeting. The president has a private sector advisory councils across the different sectors, and we were part of the sector that dealt with flooding due to storms. And we provided some solutions because knowing the water network, at least in the East Zone, and being familiar with the West Zone and with our counterparts there, we could offer very positive, powerful solutions to not only deal with flooding, but to possibly harness the water that is generated. So that's an ongoing process that we find ourselves.
And what sort of solutions would those be?
The issue is to be able to collect the volume of water when you have floods rather than it float all the way to Manila Bay. There are, let's say, initiatives now to build retention reservoirs downstream of certain, let's say, impounding areas like dams. And I said to the team, I said to the president also that maybe we can think of harnessing that rather than just use it as purely as a flood mitigation infrastructure. That's one. We've even taken a look at what other countries do. Let's say in Malaysia, obviously Singapore is Marina Bay, where you sort of use it because they reuse their water. Others is really just building diversion channels into Manila Bay.
So it's all about holding the water, managing the water as it's coming. These typhoons are coming more regularly, they're more intense, finding a way of changing our infrastructure and our catchment management so that we hold the water back for as long as possible and can then use it. Brilliant. Thank you for that. It's encouraging to hear that there's been so much thought and preparation so that you're ready for these disasters when they strike. To make Manila Water a truly global Filipino water utility. How are you going to deliver that? What's the scale of your ambition?
It's free to dream, as they say. Ambition and dreams know no limits. I guess what grounds us is our ability to do valuable work in the places that we want to work in. So our first principles is to make sure we deliver the service that will keep us best in class. And that's water supply and wastewater treatment. And keeping our NRW at below 14 or about 13.5% NRW in the East Zone. And rather than say, oh, we're going to go to this country because we want to be a global utility, I'd rather want to reframe it to say, we're doing best practices. We're doing the best we can. We can stand toe to toe with any global utility or operator anywhere in the world. And if there's a major partner or major opportunity that allows us to deploy that in a way that we can truly add value, then we will. So I guess it's a very long-winded way of saying we're not just going to go anywhere the wind blows or the water flows, but it has to be value to our potential partner, the potential customer base there, and obviously to us. So we have these international investments. We've been scanning the horizon for a bit, the last 24 months, and we have certain metrics to pay attention to. But to keep us on our toes, we really try to make sure we provide world-class services to our local constituents here.
If I just play that back to you, it's about being best in class at the particular things, the particular challenges that Metro Manila is dealing with, and then exporting those into other territories where that will also create a unique position for you and to be able to deliver best value services to those customers.
That's exactly right. We are a pure play utility. We're not an EPC, although we have an EPC entity. What we do best is deliver water and deliver wastewater service. So what I introduced as well is we want to be more innovative. So we've generated a couple of patent applications just so that we know that you have the youngsters who can innovate solutions or methods or protocols that will allow us to export these so-called methods and protocols outside. So that's part of the plan we're rolling out.
Excellent. Now, we normally ask at this stage, what advice would you give your younger self? I'm tempted to ask, what advice would you give yourself going back just 4 years ago? Would you have said, yes, I still want to join Manila Water? Or maybe I should broaden the question and say, what is the best advice you've ever been given?
Let me say first what advice I'd give myself at the start of my 4 years in Manila Water. Should have done things much earlier. Don't waste time. Move on with change very quickly. Remember, this is a change, a transformation, right? And so we have to, there's a cultural shift in the way we do things, just because it's a new management. I could have done with less steps. And I guess, to me, 25 years back, same thing. If you pay attention to my career, it's been in tranches of 7 or 8 years that I change, I shift, or I pivot.
You have a 7-year itch.
And there you go. So maybe make it like a 6-year itch. I do enjoy my days in Manila Water every day. It keeps me up positively in the sense that there's a lot of good you can still do. I enjoy working with the teams here. I guess in terms of advice, there's a lot, but the one thing that sticks, that comes to mind is don't run out of water. My chairman said, don't run out of water.
It goes right to the heart of good business, doesn't it? It's good advice. Thank you very much, Jocot. It's been wonderful speaking to you. You've been listening to the Exec Exchange with Piers Clark. And today I've been talking to Jocot De Dios, the Chief Executive of Manila Water. Thank you for listening. Please join us next time. Goodbye.